you do get some people have the cynicism turning around and saying, oh, it's not broke, don't change it. And you think, well, it is broke, because that's why we're getting all these, like, we've got to be by 2030 electrified, and so there has to be a change down the line. So people that, we're not talking dinosaurs, the transport industry has been far behind.
Welcome to Chain Reaction, the video podcast for the supply chain and logistics industry. In this podcast, we speak to industry leaders who share their ideas, thoughts,
hello everybody.
and anecdotes
Welcome
from within
to
the
Chain
logistics
Reaction
world.
podcast. As always, we talk about logistics, and today our guest is Alan Livingston. He's running transport and logistics operations at A&M Insulation. He has been pretty much all his career in the logistics space. But I'm wondering, as I've asking pretty much all of my guests, is how do you end up in logistics? So whether that was by design or that was by accident.
Yes. Hello, Michael. I've always wanted to be in transport. Came out of a sporting environment, working for Tarmac Aggregates in 1998. Ended up spending a really good quality time there. Then moving up within the ranks within supervisory, plannery, going into CPC and the logistics side of it, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And the more I got involved in it, the more you get a grasp of it, and it does become part of your life. So I became a transport manager 2014. Really thoroughly enjoyed all my time, and just progressed and kept progressing through company. Currently working for A&M. Really good opportunity for myself. I've worked in large blue chip companies previously, and I categorise this as one of the top ones as well with it. So I'm really enjoying my time in it. They've given me a very good opportunity, but a good scope of what I need to do regarding my challenges that I've got for the next probably 3 to 5 years.
That's very interesting. And I've looked at your profile, and we talked about before. You have quite a breadth of experience in that particular space,
Yep.
covering from everything from aggregate, which is completely different kettle of fish, to a consumer packaged goods or white goods.
Yes.
When you've done your work at A&O. So can you touch upon the different environments and different things that you've dealt with, and how maybe learnings from one environment helps you to address some of the issues in another? Because that is quite a fascinating area.
I think there's a lot of them that blend in, the synergy between logistics and the transport arm. In the last probably 15 to 20 years, the technology has moved forward. And from the tarmac side of it, where you used to go from the old planning boards, the old sitting there with 10 planners and making sure everything was covered, to then going into electronic systems and going into data-driven systems, which through in technology and futures, it's just evolved really. So it's from the side from being sat in an office with a planning manager with 10 planners at tarmac, making sure that sites are being delivered to, or then going through the systems and then working into data, working for AO.com, which was one of the biggest blue chip companies, which are the white goods depots all around the UK, sub depots all around the UK, and doing anything up to about 25,000 deliveries a day. It could be very, very stressful, but also very rewarding, where I set myself very high agendas of what I want to do and where I want to achieve with the people I work with and the people that work, with in the team I work with. But we always got to the objective of making sure that the customer, at the end of the day, they pay our bills, they pay our wages. So it's been a very wide spectrum of what it is to now go to an end user where I'm working at the moment with A&M. Again, lots and lots of deliveries in over 11 depots around the UK, and it's really rewarding to see from where we've started 2 years ago when I joined the business to now where we are now. We are 38% above average for our deliveries, and we're doing 2,500 to 3,000 deliveries a week.
It's fascinating. Well, actually, it's a very, very interesting. specifically with you, so you have seen the evolution of the ways of working and the technological
Yes.
kind of support that the businesses get in that space, all the way from basic Excel spreadsheets and green screens, all the way to I can imagine that quite an automated process. But
Yeah.
before we dive into and touch on technology things, can you talk a little bit about the A&M from an operational point of view and the complexity they have to deal with? Because as we talked about, touched upon earlier, you have centralized storage as well as you have 11 depots, if I get it
Correct.
right,
Yeah.
and then you do deliveries, kind of the nationwide. So what are the operational challenges that you have to deal with? Either seasonalities, or it could be the forecasting, or it could be kind of project-based environment. So what are the things, almost to a point, of what keeps you awake at night?
Yeah. That's a good question. It's the biggest complex part of it is we are driven by our customers, the house builders and domestic users that are at the moment. When I first joined A&M, people said to me, "Oh, it's insulation," and you go, "Oh, it's stuff that's in the roof, or it's stuff that's in the wall," and you go, "It's not." There's so many different wide spectrums of different things, and I'm still learning every week and every month of different types of cavity wall stuff, different types of loft insulation. It's having that. Knowledge of knowing what these guys, when we're delivering from our head offices, which is based here at Rainford, we also have three other main, what I call sub depots, based in Garforth and Leeds. We've got one in Swindon, and we've got another one in Chelmsford, who also then feed out into our other small depots. But again, every one of them is fundamentally with the same professionalism as you are delivering to an end user. So even when head office, we deliver to Swindon. Swindon is a customer. We deliver from here to Chelmsford as a customer. So they're treated as if you're the same on time in full. They've got to make sure the quality of the product is kept to the right level, but also we have to make sure that we're hitting our time frames. So the models that we have regarding delivering on top, we've got some really good suppliers that work with us, with our users that we have delivering to sites, to make sure that we are hitting our time frame, because we have a very short window for deliveries coming in. The product itself is extremely expensive, so we don't stock a lot of it at our sub depots or our smaller satellite depots. The small DCs like Swindon, Chelmsford and Garforth, they have a small amount of product being held there. But again, we have people coming in, people going out all the time, and it's a very, very busy operation per day, 6 days a week.
Well, I can imagine that, yeah, and it's also magnified by a massive complexity of the supply base, and the suppliers could be supplying not just it's not just hub and spoke. Suppliers coming into the central hub, and then everything gets dispersed.
Yes.
And also the suppliers get always almost to the site as well as to a depot. It's quite a massive technological challenge. So how do you guys find it kind of operationally? To what level you actually use the technologies, advanced platforms that aggregate and see everything, kind of give you visibility of what's going on, everything in one place, and God forbid we'll start talking about AI that does or doesn't help you with anything.
Forward. That's the way forward. We're looking. We still get the programs that are sent to us from the main users. When we say main user, we'll get the main house builders coming to us saying we've got 400 houses there, we've got 600 houses here, we've got 800 houses. We get them and they give us a project date of when it is. We then put them into our system, and we have a planning tool, Paragon, that we use regarding dates. We then look at the product where it is and where it's situated around the UK. Sometimes it is more cost effective to run a full load from Supplier direct into one of our sub DCs. Yes, that is something that we have to we manage from here. We've got a team of 6 staff that work with me very closely regarding the cost effectiveness to make sure it is. But you've got to manage the expectation of the customer, because the biggest thing that changes for us, and sadly for us, is weather. So we can have a site where we could be all systems go, we've got to be 20, 30 a day, we've got to get them done, bang, 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 and then it rains, and you're like, oh, it's not, and you're like, wow, and people do, it stops a wind. Well, no, we only start putting when it's got a roof on it. So you think, well, yeah, but you still have to be safe, and we have to make sure the lads are safe inside. So we're doing it from an end user, but we're also doing it from the installer's point of view to make sure that they're safe and doing it what they need to do to install as well.
No, it's fascinating, and it's so when we touched on AI, and you said that this is a direction of travel. So to what end or to what extent are you guys considering it, or you're playing with it, or you're trying to test it?
We've looked at some small. It was a project which I looked at in the new year. we had a company come seeing us regarding AI planning. I'll be honest with you now, it was a completely complex part of it, which I was dead interested in, but then it was just like, wow, we've got 2,000 deliveries here, and I'm thinking, how does the synergy of getting this product into the it was more, it's something I'm going to be looking into for the end of probably 2025, going into 2026, because I like to embrace technology. I like to think forward regarding that we're always a forward planning company. I believe we're a market leader in what we're doing in the insulation, cavity wall and loft insulation, but we're also, we do it to make sure it's cost effective and environmentally. We have to, if we're an environmental company regarding cavity wall and loft insulation, we can't be running around like busy fools and then running 5 vans here and 7 wagons here, just when you can just plan it in the right context. And I think that's something which I brought as my expertise from other firms, where we have streamlined the operation. We've made sure that we are financially viable regarding making sure it's right, but also we're hitting the customer's end user now. We're at 92%, I think it was 91, 92% of finalising jobs within the date, within the parameters of what we're given, which is an extremely good news when the SLAs are 65, 70%.
Right. No, it sounds fascinating. And I've been on a conference the other day, and actually one of the key takeaways from that was, which completely resonate with me as well, is the AI or any kind of advanced analytics. They only as good as the foundation they built upon.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
if the foundation is erroneous or has gaps or has too many Excel spreadsheets with manual inputs, businesses may end up in a situation garbage in, garbage out, and no AI, no amount of AI can solve everything.
Fully agree.
So that's a massive challenge. But the environmental side of things, so this is actually quite interesting as well, because we talked about that. So you guys are obviously building, your business is around kind of the helping homes stay cool in the summer, cold in the winter. Sorry, warm in the winter. Yes, warm in the winter. Yes, that was a Freudian slip. I can. So I grew up. I grew up above Arctic Circle, so I know what that feels like. Anyway, so this is and obviously the climate is changing. And it's quite interesting. So how you guys, so first of all, this is your main business model, but from an operational point of view and a logistics point of view, you guys, it looks like you are trying to address that problem kind of head on, and you have a vision of where you want to go. So can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, it's making sure that you're the market leader in where we're going. Like we said, we don't want to, we've located our sites logistically around the UK to make sure we become cost effective for the business. But we're not going into some of the mainstream big massive cities. We don't want to be looking as if we are, wherever you go, there's an A&M wagon running about, and there's some really, really big companies out there who are claiming they are environmentally friendly, but you see them running about and you think, wow, every time I seem to go around the corner, there's a wagon. There's a wagon. You think, that's not effective. It can't be the same wagon. And we've done ours where we plan effectively to make sure we try to do it as a one hit shop. So we don't cross contaminate any of the vehicles. We make sure that they're all segregated correctly within the business, and that we are very, very highly strung regarding safe systems of work to make sure, one, we're in, we do the correct, the loading, we make sure that we are in on time, and we try and beat any of the traffic measures that we have in place. We've got a very, very good network of distribution sites that we deal with. They are probably our second, our third arm really regarding moving forward, and we've got 2 or 3 really, really good suppliers that we deal with who are on board with us. They want to work effectively like us and efficiently. They're going down the same route of the different types of hydrogen or electric format. So we're looking at all different elements of how we move forward as a business. Do we change our plan regarding trunking overnight? Do we change our plan for different types of trunking midday? We will do it to make sure it's environmentally correct, but we'll make sure it's financially viable for the business.
Well, it's amazing that you mentioned that. Is not everybody thinks that way. I mean, what I've heard is that two elements, and some companies that do kind of greenwash the whole issue. Some businesses look at it. Oh, we can electrify a couple of vehicles, and we can put some pictures on LinkedIn and our website, and we all good and golden. But actually, it's the operational effectiveness that's what moves the needle. So you're not moving air, you're not having empty runs and empty journeys, and you collaborate with your suppliers as well as with your customers, whether those are internal or external customers. So to make sure that you run it effectively. And I completely agree with you. This is exactly the way that first needs to be tackled. The electrification or hydrogenization or whatever the technology might be, this comes second. So how do you see any resistance when you talk with your counterparties? So you're sitting in the center, you could be coming up with a plan, and this is what we need to do. This is what analysis tells us. So how do your customers, internal customers or suppliers, respond to that? Because suppliers, okay, they might say, well, you say jump, we say how high. But internal customer might say, well, I don't care what you think, I need this stuff tomorrow, get it to me. So how do you get that buy-in from?
We did in the last 12 months. There has been a change, Michael. There really has, where people are now starting to want to work with you because they know it's a growing market of where we're trying to. It's not just an objective of where we want to achieve. We've made it very clear to our suppliers that we're supplying your product, we're putting it to the end user, but at the end of the day, we want people to be on board with. We're not going to go with a firm that's just going to say, hire me, as I used to say, hire me, carry me, drop me. We're not in the situation of just. We want to work with a company long term. We'd like to work with businesses that are effectively regarding looking at the environmental side of it. It's not just. I know I've been in the industry long enough in transport where people are looking at pounds, shillings, and pence of how much running costs. I'm one of them. I do that on a weekly basis for the budgeteer for the business, but we also make sure that we're working very closely with firms, and we feed back to them as well regarding, we've had certain sites where we go to where they've said, we look at charge points. We say, well, we look at how we can synergize where we're doing our deliveries. We've gone down the route of where we've had some electric vehicles. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't. So we are looking along them lines, but we're looking more of the bigger picture in probably 2 to 3 years, possibly going on hydrogen, because it's something that we're both. We work very closely with all of like the main end users, but we're also looking at some of the manufacturers in the wagons and the vans to see. We want feedback from them to say, how do you think we want to address it? Say, right, this is our product. We want to address it this way. We're not going to be the big, waving the flag and going, follow us. We're the big leader. We're doing this. We'd love to be, but we just want to go under the radar, continue doing what we're doing, and people will jump on board. And I have found in the last 12 months we've got 3 or 4 really good valued suppliers who weren't just suppliers. We can talk to them regarding, what their synergies for their supply chain that they're using to what we're doing. And yes, we have made some good positive steps in changing certain people's, not perception, but I think people's way of working regarding it. And like I said, I'm not the next big stand on my soapbox and say, listen to me. But I think it does work, and our model is working at the moment.
You are listening to Chain Reaction. This podcast is brought to you by Phlox, the leading marketplace for the supply chain and logistics industry. Visit phlox.is to find out how you find the perfect supplier or make your services available to prospective buyers. Thanks for tuning in. Now back to the show.
But what do you see are the biggest kind of challenges or bottlenecks, or where do you see resistance? Whether is that inability of tech, or the traditional way of working is restricting your ability to kind of to improve and collaborate with your customers and counterparties further, or it is people's almost like the attitude towards us, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I think it's partly I think it's probably a small part is the infrastructure. You do get some people have the cynicism, turning around and saying, "Oh, it's not broke, don't change it." And you think, well, it is broke, because that's why we're getting all these, like, we've got to be by 2030 electrified, and so there has to be a change down the line. So people that, we're not talking dinosaurs. The people, the transport industry has been long been far behind. I'm a big advocate of like sitting down with people, and I go to all these shows and the vehicle shows, and I see all the new electronic technologies and the tracking softwares, and all these diesel monitoring and all that. It's great, but you need to have something that works for your business. And you have to, and I keep saying to people, you make sure it's a bespoke piece of kit. The infrastructure charge points at this moment in time just doesn't work. We've had this conversation with somebody. I was at the CV show, and he was banging his drum about Renault trucks and Ford trucks and Volvo trucks and all these beautiful machinery. I'm going, I'll buy 2 of them, 5 of them, 8 of them. I'd be like, brilliant. It was like my Christmas all at once. But then when you turn around to them and say, how many of them have you got your ultra chargers? How many charging points you got this? How many are on, your Zap maps and this, and you think, wow, that's the big problem. And you go, can't just go, there's £3 million, I'll just go and spend X amount of money on the thing. I've got a very, very supportive board of directors that would probably not want to give me £3 million to look at it like that, but they would turn around and say, this is the reason why we're doing it. And then you're looking at like 85,000 charge points, 126,000, I think it is at the moment around the UK, which I was going the other day. I do look at my facts and figures, and I think certain sites in certain parts of the UK, yes, they've gone out, but there has to be a spectrum across the board where you've got to make it viable for everybody. If it's somebody in Cardiff, or if it's somebody we've got a site in Exeter, and it's people in Exeter, I think some of them have only just got broadband, let alone like electric vehicles, and you think, flipping heck. It's just, it's just, you look and you go, does that work in the energy? Would it get to Cornwall and back on a full charging thing? And then you look at your points of where you're charging. So it is something that is on my mind. It does give me sleepless nights sometimes, because I know within a short period of time we are going to have to go down that route. But it is something that we look at probably on a monthly basis with the board of directors.
No, it's amazing, and that's exactly what I thought and read elsewhere as well. Is we can talk about wonderful vehicles as if Christmas happened today, but the infrastructure is not keeping up with it.
No.
And even the charging points, the existence of charging points is only part of the issue, part of the solution. You actually have to get energy from somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we don't have enough. And we don't produce enough. And if all of the cars are all of a sudden, or even half of them are gonna go electric tomorw, we're not gonna get enough tea because we can't boil our kettles. So that's the challenge. And I can understand completely why you mentioned hybrid, for example. Oh, sorry, hydrogen. What about the other technologies? Because you did mention that, well, the diesel, and I saw that as well. Sort of the internal combustion engine gets better.
Yep.
Then you can also burn methane, which could be coming from various waste facilities, as well as you can go hydrogen, which is it's a mix of. We still don't have enough infrastructure, but what if you were a betting man, which technology do you think you would bet on to be the winner? I don't think it's going to be one winner, but it could be kind of leading horse.
That was my answer. I don't think it's going to be one out and out winner, but I do think the way, my own opinion, and talking to people from DVSA and people above, I do believe that. I think the hydrogen technology is something where I think that needs to be explored a lot more. It's a more, yes, it's the combustion of the engine is exactly the same. It's going to be doing the same job as what it does with a diesel engine or a petrol engine, but it seems to be environmentally more safer. It's again, it goes down to the same thing, Michael, as cost. Everything at the start, everything when people started with hybrid cars, and Tesla started with its first fully electric car, and it was X amount of money. That same model now is nearly £38,000 cheaper, and you're thinking, wow, that's like. And then you look at some of these big Mercedes wagons and the Mercedes cars that you can see an electric car these days that you can buy for £28,000, and you think. 2 years ago, that was like nearly 50,000, and it's bringing that market down. Then you'll bring hydrogen into it, and the price will go up again. and then it'll come down again. It'll filter through the system. So I think electric, of course, is the way forward. I think you're absolutely spot on regarding it. Everyone can go, yes, we're going to be full electric by 2030, but where are we going to get it from? It doesn't just pluck it out of the sky and go hang about. We'll just get the gerbil on the wheel and just make sure it's all working again. It's going to come from somewhere. So you're right. I think the infrastructure needs working at massively, but I do think going forward, I think the technology, the way things are, I think hydrogen is something which I think is a more cost-wise at the front end is going to be very expensive. But I think if the more technology-wise they get it right, I think that could be very, very cheap and more cost-effective for the transport industry.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating, and that's what I'm thinking as well. Is well, first of all, 2030 is way too ambitious a target. I think it was more of a kind of a directional statement rather than the actual kind of the deadline. If 2050 will happen, that's already going to be a kind of a good achievement. Because again, there's lots of stuff that needs to happen. There's lots of stuff that needs to happen that depends on the government and kind of. In the UK as well as kind of globally in Europe.
Yeah.
But if you are to have a magic wand, or let's say your board is happy to write you a blank check, what would you go for first? That is within the kind of the perimeter
within the
of your
current
business.
climate, it would be hybrid electric. It's
Nice.
I think the technology has moved forward exponentially in the last 5 years, where I had previous experiences in my previous employment where there was we had vehicles of massive range, 600 miles, 600 this, and you take the charging plug out and you've just literally just turn the windscreen wiper on, it goes down to 400 miles. That was happening regular, and you're thinking, I've literally just I've literally just put the key in the thing to go click, and it goes 600, 490, and you're thinking, I haven't moved. The vehicle hasn't moved. And you think of this, but nowadays, I've got some experience of some of these newer technologies, the way they are with these newer engines, the new cells that they've got in them. They are long lasting. We don't just look at that. We look at the residual value of them for A&M. We don't just look at just buying them outright and thinking that 50, 60 grand or one thing or other. We look at how long we can keep them within the fleet. We try to replace our fleet here within every 4 years. We've got a very fluid fleet at this moment in time, where we've grown from 161, I think, when I joined. We're now at nearly 227. So we're a growing fleet, which we've got people there to do it. But I am looking at the other side of it for electric or hybrid electric. We will go down the route in time of full electric vehicles. I know that's what we're going to have to do, but the technology is slowly catching up. My biggest concern and my main concern is the infrastructure regarding the charging. I still have, you're right, I do have sleepless nights thinking about guys that are like going from Swindon or from our Chelmsford depot and can't even get to Ipswich and back because it's on a full charge, and that does worry me.
Well, that's why the hybrid can work, because you have. I mean, I have a hybrid car for like 4 years now, and it does. I mean, for very short commute, it's fully electric, and if you go to extended range, well, perfect. But this is that's the hardware side of things. What about the software and I'm talking about the kind of almost the operational bit of software side of things. Is when you talked earlier about operational effectiveness.
Yeah.
Because you can have an electric car, and I keep on repeating on quite often, is electric car in a traffic jam is still a car in a traffic jam. So how can you make sure that it actually runs on a productive journey, not moving air, well utilized, or at least that kind of unproductive side of things is get minimized, which centers around decision making, not just the hardware tech. So on that side of things, on the operational side of things, what keeps you awake at night, if anything?
I think it's the same thing as what we discussed before regarding it's the movement of moving forward regarding like AI. You look at these cars these days that are like, they're not just a car. You've got cars that are talking to you, that you've got cars that are braking for you, you've got cars that are steering for you, which worries the life out of me. But then you look at the other side of it and you think this is just, the movement of technology, the way we've gone forward. I believe AI will be into vehicles. It probably is already now regarding certain elements of the way the technologies move forward. But they will become more and more effective and more efficient. For it will have it where it'll turn the fans off. It'll be asking you how warm are you. It'll turn the air conditioning off. It will do this. It will do them the craziest things. Which I've got a lovely BMW, and it basically, barring making me a cup of tea, it does everything for me. And you look and you think, wow, that's just that's amazing. It's like, 10 years ago, you were lucky to you get heated seats. Nowadays, it massages you. It does this. It gives you the right climate control, and it's telling you what's happening 2 miles ahead. And with all the, with this stuff on the, with the dashboards, and it's the evolvement of technology. And like I said, with AI and the way businesses is going these days, I believe technology will be in vehicles quicker than we think, and I think is a real positive. That I think it can help us. I think it can help transport managers and group fleet managers to say, look, drivers are not running effectively, drivers are not running efficiently. Guys who are like, it's very, very rare these days now. You see people hammering around everywhere in these doing whatever, and which I'm a real advocate. I've got softwares that we use for our drivers. We do driver behavioural, all of our depots and all of our DCs. We call them Champions League. We have a Champions League list where we've got the lads who have like best drivers and done whatever. It's working effectively. It's using the knowledge, but also using that information there, which is it's invaluable. Regarding you look at people and you say, well, this has saved us. I think last year it was nearly £120,000 in fuel, just on driver behaviours. So, by the way, that's 2 new trucks, and they go, why don't you think, well, this is down to you guys. If you use it and use it effectively, we can get you new fleet, or we can get you new. It's about it's the buy-in of people, and we do have a few, all fossils and relics and dinosaurs that work for us. They're always going to be the same. I don't care. I just drive my vehicle and then come home and I just park it up and then get in it next month. Yeah, you're going to get people, but you want them to be safe. And you tell them the things, and they talk about with the software. Why does it bleep at me now? Why has it got another camera looking at me? And they go, this is the reason why. So it's turning people's knowledge and being into a positive, not thinking it's like Big Brother.
It's when technology kind of helps and leverages the people's knowledge and makes them even more effective. I think I had a podcast on that, and I will constantly kind of talk about that as well. AI and the tech is not here to replace us.
No.
It's just to make us more effective, more powerful, and be more productive. Yeah, exactly. I think as the last question that I wanted to ask you, because I mean, first of all, it's amazing to see how forward looking you are, and I can imagine that that's a contrast with the more traditional kind of the bigger businesses, where everything is so kind of a corporate and bland and grey very often, or far too often than that we want. Here you are in an environment where it actually allows you to actually properly move these things forward. The one thing that the last question that I would like to ask you, which is kind of on the back of what you just talked about, is: do you think autonomous vehicles would help or hinder what you guys do? Would you welcome this, or would you be extremely cautious?
I think that just says I would be extremely cautious regarding. I'm one of these. I love my technology, and I think moving forward it will be great. I don't think we're ready for that autonomous step yet. I think there'll be a lot more challenges, bigger challenges regarding the mainstream and the flow of traffic. And I've seen it in I've watched videos of people in the Far East where they're in taxis with no drivers, and I'll be like, just point A to point B, yeah, okay, fine, but like you want somebody there to press the brake, or somebody comes out. I get all that, but I think we've got more challenging times ahead, which if we can master them first before we start moving on to the driverless vehicles and one thing or other, we're always going to need people, and we're always going to need drivers. And as I said, we've got installers who are an absolute the spine of this company. We treat them exactly the same as our drivers, and one thing or other, they are, the backbone of this company, and we treat them in exactly the same respect as what our planners do here, or what the senior management team that work here with me, and they are treated with the same content. I think going forward, there will be an autonomous side of it. It's just a matter of, I personally believe it's not close. I think it's somewhere that needs to be far, far greatly investigated before we start trying to roll it out first. I think we need to, like you said before, get the foundations right. Get everything right. Going back to my tarmac days with concrete, if you get the foundations right on your house, it'll be spot on. If you get a weak foundation, it's going to collapse very quickly.
Indeed. No, I completely agree with you. It's like baby steps. There are certainly some areas where you can go sooner. For example, it could be kind of a haulage in the middle of the night, like a shuttle service for road trains, that kind of stuff, where you don't need to navigate narrow routes, city routes, and goes to depot, full truckloads, automatically loaded, unloaded. That's probably going to be a step one. And then all of the others says, still required to be tested. There could be a hybrid models, but it is direction of travel. I think no matter which way we're looking at this, I think the technology is going to be upon us at some point in the future. But so thanks, thank you, Alan. Thank you. It was fascinating conversation. I'm glad that we touched upon very, very interesting and forward-looking subjects in a space where I tend to find quite a lot of conservatism among colleagues. So again, thanks very much for joining us, and thanks very much for amazing talk. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate the conversation.
Thanks for tuning in to Chain Reaction. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please don't forget to subscribe. If you have a story or opinions to share from your sector, we'd love to hear from you. Simply reach out to Chain Reaction or visit flox.is for more information. See you next time.